everybody. How's everybody doing out here? Thank you so much.
Hey,
now, who is here for Mr. Tony Daniel and who's just has sore feet and is wanting to sit down and enjoy themselves? So, round of applause for sore feet. No. Round of applause for Mr. Tony Daniel, legendary DC artist, Detective Comics. We're going to get into all of it today.
Thank you.
This is a live sketch presentation, and you are all in for a very big treat. We're going to be sketching multiple things. Is that right, Tony?
Well, I just brought a bunch of Batman, like, preliminary, like, rough sketches, but I can draw anything.
Everybody loves Batman sketches.
I got a Catwoman, you know, but...
So, not to waste paper, these sketches are going to go to some lucky audience members. So, however this is going to work, we have a Q&A microphone right over there. Everybody that gets a question asked, so please go to the microphone if you have a question. If you get a question asked, we are going to do a little raffle on side stage after the panel is over. So, I want to go ahead and kick things off. You can feel free to just start sketching away. Can everybody let us know if you can't see it on the screens, but it should be there. So first of all, welcome back to the con floor, sir.
Thank you.
In the post-apocalyptic world that we just got out of, is this your first time back to the shows?
I haven't done, well, this is my first convention since the last one that we had in Chicago at C2E2. That was right before they shut everything down.
Oh, I was there.
So, were you there? Yeah,
oh,
that
man.
was like the
interesting
last
conversations.
big hurrah. And I haven't been to Megacon in like over 25 years.
What? Round of applause. Welcome back to Orlando.
Yes, thank you. Now, I was only 3 years old, but...
Well, the line is long.
I started working early.
So, but I want to give at least one question in for myself, and I'm not going to take a sketch, but loving Nocterra, man. I absolutely love it. Everybody reading Nocterra? It's a phenomenal, phenomenal book. I just want to know how you linked up with Scott Snyder and how that project came to be.
So Scott Snyder and myself, you know, we both were working in the Batman universe at DC at the same time. Like, I was writing Detective and drawing Detective. He was writing Batman for Greg Capullo. So occasionally we'd get on the phone and just like touch base with, you know, what each other is doing and whatnot. But we hadn't worked together until Nocterra. And the way that came about was I bumped into him in New York, just literally walking down the street. I was walking with a couple Spanish artists, and he happened to be crossing the street with his editor, and we were just like shooting the shit for a little bit, and I said, he said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Let's get together, or, you know, let's do something." And he's like, "Yeah, let's do something." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll talk to you soon. We'll just get in touch." Literally, usually when that happens, you don't hear back, or, you know, people don't connect. They forget.
Small talk.
But he called me like a few days later and said, "Hey, like, I'm serious. Like, are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready to I was leaving DC at the time. You know, I was ready to, you know, do some independent work again." And we just started to talk about different ideas. And then Nocterra came about like a week later. So we didn't have that originally. That sort of just transpired.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started to like just kind of talk about it and figure out the name of it and figure out the characters. And we did a lot of that together. He's the writer, but we, you know, did a lot of collaborating to get it to where it is, and, you know, the world building. And
it's a phenomenal book, guys. Definitely check out Nocterra. I'm sure you'll probably have some Nocterra questions from the audience. So let's go ahead and kick things off. What is your name? Because we're going to put your name in a hat to potentially win some of these sketches. So go right ahead.
Hello, Tony Daniel. My name's Dan the Man, and my question for you is, how long does it take for you to care of?
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Oh.
The mic
maybe raise the mic
might be muted, or try again.
Okay, great. As I was saying, hi guys, my name is Dan the Man, and my question for you is, I know you're basically great arms of Batman. So how long does it take for you to draw the character Batman?
Well, it depends. Like I will do a page a day. Like, I'll do a full page in one day. That's typically what I aim for, and at this point in my career, I just try to get as much done within like an 8-hour time frame or 10-hour time frame as I possibly can. But typically, that's what I do. Like something like this, I can do pretty quickly, but I spend a little bit more time on it if it's going to be published, you know. So, yeah, not that long.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
What is your name?
My name is Jennifer, and when I went to art school 3 decades ago,
Say 3.5 weeks ago?
No, 3 decades ago. They didn't really teach us digital art, and I'm making my very first comic, but I'm only using watercolor and color pencils. Is there a downfall to using just traditional
Well,
materials?
I generally have worked traditional my entire career, although recently with Noctera, I'm doing a lot more digital work where I'll do like a full issue just on Procreate on my iPad.
Okay.
So get that app. It's like super
I
cheap.
have it.
It's a wonderful app. It speeds me up a lot, you
Yeah.
know, because I ink my work too, where I'm not just penciling it. So that takes a lot of time, and we have a deadline, so I have to it's a very deadline-oriented field. So I have to just make sure I'm getting my work done in time so we can meet our publishing deadlines. So it's just a tool, though. If you like it, it's great. You know,
I have it.
if you don't like it, it took me a while to get used to it.
Yeah.
I tried it a few times, and then I didn't really like it, and it sat for a couple years. And then I tried it again, and I started to
I'm
get used
trying
to it.
It's just difficult.
It's difficult.
I'm using microns and like India black ink, so I don't know.
Yeah, you got to just keep, just take a
just
weekend and
keep
just
trying it.
mess with it, and
Okay.
then, for me, I'm glad I did because I gave up a few times, and
Yeah.
now it's like second nature to me, and
Yeah.
I love it.
I think that's my little hiccup too, because I'm so used to using traditional materials and.
I
So,
prefer traditional, but
do
for the
too.
sake of deadlines, it's like,
Okay, I get it.
there's
Yeah.
so many things I can do digitally that I can't do. I can do it. I think I can do anything
Mhm.
traditional, but it might take me longer to achieve the same effects.
Goal, yeah.
So that's what I like about Procreate is I can do it like this. Boom, it's like done, and it's like, oh man, it took me 10 seconds as
just
opposed to an
email.
hour with
Yep.
just one shadow or something. It's really helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sir, I know you have a question.
I do.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Tony. Really love your work.
Thank you.
I especially love your covers, and I know that you do a lot of different covers, of different different characters. And I got to tell you, if I see a Tony Daniel cover, I buy the issue, even if I don't read the book.
That's what I want to hear.
That's what I do.
Thank you.
Anyway, so the question is, I obviously you do interiors as well.
Yeah.
What do you have a preference? Do you like doing covers more than interior, or it doesn't matter to you?
I like both are different things. It's
Right.
like I like interiors because I like being a storyteller.
Right.
So, but I also like covers because I get to do characters that I don't normally do. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of variant covers for Marvel comics.
Right.
And I haven't done Marvel in decades,
Right.
So, I'm loving that. So it's two different beasts, and I love both.
Right.
I do. No, interiors is a lot more labor,
Yeah.
intensive, but
Yep.
I have to be fully committed to whatever I'm working on with a cover or with the interiors. With the cover, it's like, I can just spend one afternoon with this
Right.
cover and then I'm done,
Right.
so.
Well, I'll tell you, I've gotten to the point that I don't even have to see your signature on the cover. I said, that's a Tony Daniel
Oh,
cover.
thank you
Oh
so
yeah,
much.
and it was funny.
Okay.
Like during COVID, did you guys all see that poster with I think it was Batman and Robin with the social distancing poster, where the cape was 6 feet? Did you do that one?
I did that.
I
yeah.
saw
I
that
did a bunch
outside
of
Chicago
those.
Comics, and I saw your name on it. I was like, that's a very clever cover.
Yeah.
It's like a Batwing cape.
Right.
We
is
did
6
like
feet.
Wonder
yeah.
Woman and I forget who it was. I think Superman and Wonder Woman. We did like
Yeah.
Batman and Damien.
So I'm with you, man.
That's
Like
cool.
the art speaks for itself. It
Oh, yeah.
stands out. But
Absolutely.
there's thanks so much for your question.
No problem.
Come on over here afterwards, and after the panel, and we'll draw some names. How's it
Hello.
going, man?
Hello, my name is Brian Pizarro.
Brian?
Hey Brian.
Hey, I just wanted to ask what artist inspired you to create your style, or what artist did you study to develop the style that you currently have?
Well, when I was younger, it was Mike Zack, which is like one of my favorite childhood heroes. It was Mike Zack. People might know him from like Secret Wars and Punisher, back in the 80s or whatever. And then John Byrne. I love John Byrne. And then the 90s came, and there was Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, Todd McFarlane. I kind of grew up in that. That's where I came up in the 90s. So I was heavily influenced by all the 90s guys, of course, because that was it. That was what we were all doing. It was current. It was modern at the time. So and over time, just develop my own style. I've really fought to develop my own style where people don't say I look like this guy or that guy or whatever. And I'm still developing as I go, and I'm still making tweaks and changes and pushing myself to grow, and you know, but those are my early influences for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Great, thanks so much for the question. If you're just joining us, we're up here with DC artist Mr. Tony Daniel. There are some seats available. Hello, sir.
Hi, how you doing? My name's Eddie.
Eddie?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, when you're doing the pictures and the drawings, do you add any of your own little like Easter eggs that only you know about? So like whenever you see it, you're like, I recognize that little
should.
thing that I did.
I should.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh,
I
man.
don't, but I should.
Yeah.
I
Well,
may have done it at some point, but
if you ever do it, let us know.
I'm so rushed with my deadlines that I just like get the job done and go on to the next page.
No, they can't let you know. That's the point. It's supposed to
We
be a
gotta
secret,
find it.
right?
Well,
If
once
you
in
do
a
put a secret
while-
in there, let us know.
Okay, you know what?
Exclusively
I
at
lied.
Megacon
I lied.
Orlando, he'll let us know.
One time I think I put Ernie and Bert in like a crowd of people,
Oh, awesome.
like in a Batman issue. I think there was a crowd, and I had the outlines of like Ernie and Bert.
Anyone ever find out?
I don't know why
Anyone
I did that, and I think I had I had some other characters from a TV show or something that I did. I did the same thing, but yeah, so I guess once in a while I have done
Awesome.
stupid stuff like that.
Well,
but
thanks, man. I appreciate it. You're awesome.
thanks, appreciate it.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I was wondering,
Ellen.
do you have a favorite Batman villain that you love to draw? And
My
why?
my favorite is the Joker. I've only had the opportunity to do like a little bit of Joker, and I've been on Batman like off and on for different things for like over 10 years probably. So for me to not work with Joker as much as I wanted to, he's like kind of the one that I'm always like wishing I did more with. And I love him, and I if I ever go back and do more Batman, I'm gonna definitely want a Joker story, But everyone wants a Joker story, and it just always seem to elude me during my runs. I love the Scarecrow.
Yes.
I love big monster. I like Clayface. These are characters I really haven't drawn as much, but anybody creepy and monstrous, that's kind of who I like.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Hello, sir. What's your name?
Name's Tom.
Tom?
Yeah, Tony. My question was, hello again.
Hey, Tom.
My question was, just curious how it was when I think it was the 700 issue, 704, I think it was,
Yeah.
where you wrote and you drew Batman. I was just curious how that was, that experience, and possibly if you might be doing something like that. Have you thought of in the future?
Well, so after Grant Morrison left and he did Batman Inc., I took over the writing for Batman, I think for almost like 2 years. So did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I did I wrote Batman all the way into, they relaunched it and did, Rebirth or whatever. So that was like no. I did it until they did the New 52, and then I switched over to Detective, and I did that for about a year. So where I wrote and drew that with Bruce Wayne. But during, right after Grant Morrison, I did Nightwing as, Dick Grayson as Batman, and we just kept that going as long as people liked it. But people really liked Dick Grayson as Batman, so yeah, you included, right? So, so that's kind of how that happened. But what I would do is I would talk to the editor, and we'd lay out like a whole year and say, this is what we intend to do for the year, and then I would break it down into like 3 or 4 story arcs, and we'd talk on the phone. I'd write it. It was really, really easy for me, and it made it easy for me so I can write and draw and not give me too much trouble. So it was a really fun time. They didn't give me too many, problems. I rarely had to rewrite stuff. It was really easy for me. But
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you.
it was hard but easy.
Looking at this sketch, it's just amazing how this is just kind of coming to life right before our
I'm
eyes.
just going to darken it and then sign it.
Oh, sir. Yeah, go right ahead. What's your name?
My name is Derek.
Derek?
I had a question. How long did it take you and Snyder to get the design of the shades and Blacktop Bill and Noctera?
Yes, thank you for a Noctera question. Appreciate it.
And do you find drawing Blacktop Bill difficult because he's all black?
Blacktop Bill is the easiest character
Okay.
I've ever drawn in my
Yeah.
life. I love him though. He has a lot of fans. He's just super easy. And some of the bad guys that look like Blacktop Bill, they're kind of cool too. I give him like spikes and crazy hair and goggles and stuff, But it didn't take me long because I love monsters, So I can do monsters all day long.
Okay.
Super easy.
Cool.
Now, if you ask me to draw cars and trucks, that takes me forever.
Or like drawing
Yeah,
the buses and
Don't
stuff?
ask me to draw a car.
Okay.
Tony, gonna show this one to the audience?
Okay, how do I do it?
Oh, just hold it up.
Like this?
Let everybody see it in physical form. Beautiful.
They can actually see it on the TV.
Can
Oh,
they,
yeah.
Can
I
they
can't see
it?
the
Can
TVs.
they see it on the screen?
Yeah, it's on
They
the
sure
screen.
can.
Come on, Chuck.
I just need. I want to make sure I get a few more in. So.
Yeah, no, we'll start rocking and rolling.
All right.
Great. Sir, your name?
Nick.
Go right
Hey,
ahead.
Nick.
I just want to say I met you at Emerald City Comic Con about 10 years ago, and you had an art print of Joker's when his face was ripped off from
Yes.
Detective Comics. It scared my son really bad, and then you felt bad. He saw it and gave him a signed copy of whatever art piece he wanted. And just to say, he's 15 now. He loves that art, and he tells people that story of how he met you all the time. So just want to let you know you had a very positive impression on my son the way you treated him.
I try to get the kids hooked early, like cocaine. I give them a little
On
free sample.
Joker faces.
And they keep coming back. See, now he's going to buy my stuff. So
Exactly. Man, you drew that Joker face for a while. Like,
yeah,
that was an amazing thing. I mean, that image of Joker's, the faceless Joker, the Joker's face lives in infamy. Sir,
Hi, my name's Ryan.
where's your helmet, sir?
It's sitting over
Oh,
there.
okay.
Oh,
can't really
sorry,
see
sorry,
very
Ryan.
well
Real
with
quick,
it.
can you give me a last name because we have another Ryan?
Oh, what's your last name?
Holmeyer.
Perfect. Thank you.
What's your favorite issue that you ever drew?
I would say that it's maybe the final issue of R.I.P. When I was working with Grant Morrison. That whole entire run was like a dream for me to just work with Grant Morrison, and that run was just like so special. Like from beginning to end, I was like a fan reading his scripts. When they would come in, I just read the whole thing. I just like soaked it up and just loved it. Like, what the hell's this guy doing? It's crazy. I don't know what he's doing. He wouldn't tell me what he's doing because he wouldn't answer my emails. But he's a little weird like that. Like his wife I would email him, and his wife would email me 3 days later. Like, oh, he says this and da da da. I'm like, oh, he wouldn't email me. But that's just the way he works, I guess. His genius or whatever. But I loved it. I loved working with him. It was just fantastic. But that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Hi.
Hi, what is your name, sir?
My name is Chris Daniel. No relation.
Hey, how's it going? Long lost brother.
Cousin Chris.
That's where you went.
So,
Mom has been looking for you, bro. Like, what happened?
That's a long story. We don't have time for that now. But so I've been following your work since like 20 years ago, like with the 10th. You started
oh wow,
with
yeah,
Image.
yeah.
And I've always, actually, in a lot of ways, because I kind of have a reading disability. Comic books is how I was able to really enjoy reading.
Yeah.
And some of your work was weirdly where I got into that. I'm sorry. Here's the question.
Go ahead, bro. I'm following you.
Yeah. I was curious because I've always enjoyed your storytelling, especially some of those indie works that you did. I was curious if you've ever tried to revisit returning to some of those original stories, like the 10th and things like that.
I have not, but I was actually talking to Mark Silvestri a little while ago. Like, hey, maybe I'll do something with that book again. Yeah, I get asked about the 10th like once a day, every day. I really online, on Instagram,
Yeah,
in public.
I
It has a
figured-
lot of fans.
I figured I could have bothered you on Twitter, but I just thought I'd just message you directly.
I would like to. That's something that maybe I do. But
Sure.
I would have to relaunch it and reboot it where it's modern. Because it's
Right.
kind of dated.
Yeah.
I can't get away with some of the stuff I did back then. It was a long
Maybe
time
not.
ago. But just update it, modernize it, and make it relevant
Sure.
and cool and all that. So
Well,
Beautiful.
just a 20-year-long fan. Thank you very much for
thank
your
you
time.
so much.
Excellent. That looks amazing. Sir, hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
My name is Nick, but Nick R, because I think we already got
Good
a name in
memory,
here.
Nick R.
Thank you, thank you. So my question is, what is the hardest part of matching your vision for like a cover of a comic with the author's vision of the story? Or do you ever find conflict in your vision and then
Of what, the cover?
not only the cover, but maybe when you're just illustrating a comic in general?
Well, usually I just try to hopefully work with a good writer, which
Yeah.
in most 90% of the time I'm working with a
Yeah,
really good
yeah,
writer.
yeah.
So those guys, for me, I just always try to get their vision across. Like for me, it's like I feel like my job is accomplished if I can nail what it is they're trying to do,
Or,
and so I adapt.
Like, what's the hardest part of trying to adapt your vision with their vision? I guess that's a better question.
Well, sometimes just finding a way to just do what I want to do in there, you know, like sometimes I don't have enough room to do something, you know, like a bigger image. Like sometimes I can't, there's just not enough room, and I like big images, you know, but sometimes I don't get that opportunity, and you just have to find a way to make it work. You know, every book is different, and so I just try to not force, you know, my stuff in there where it's like it's not what the writer wants. You know, so but luckily I work with really good writers who know how to tell a story, and I can just kind of like get across what they want to get across, and just try to. My job is just to make it look as cool and interesting as possible. You know, so try not to bore people. If I'm bored, the audience who's reading it is bored.
Yeah.
You know, so.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Hello.
Hi, my name's Lucy, and you
Hi,
just
Lucy.
borderline got on the subject I was going to ask you about. Do you ever just get bored and go, oh my God, I have to do this again today?
See, the good news is that I'm in control of that. So I can, if I'm getting bored, I can change things up so that it's interesting to me. So, and I've been doing this a long time, so I
Right.
find ways to. Do you like how I'm looking at you but drawing this?
I love it.
I'm like, I'm drawing this.
That's
It's just,
pretty
it's
interesting.
you know, muscle memory, you know.
Right.
But it's almost like drawing with your eyes closed, but not that bad.
It's a self-portrait.
Yeah, but there's times where I'm doing something and I just don't want to do it just because it's like, oh, there's like a million people or something on here, but I might not feel like it. I'll just drink a cup of coffee, put some music on, and just crank away. You know, we have our tricks, whatever gets us through. You know, but
Okay.
hopefully there's not too much of that.
Well, it doesn't show.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Hey.
What's your name?
Greg.
Greg?
Yes.
Hey, Greg.
I'm not gonna lie, I had a few questions and I've been cycling through which one to ask. Is there, I guess what I would say is, what might have been your favorite story to work on, and is there a story that you would want to work on that you haven't yet, that you've always wanted to?
Well, like earlier, I was saying like the R.I.P. with Grant Morrison. That was probably my most fun experience, but I have different ones. You know, that was different because it was Batman. You know, but you know, like what I'm working on now. Usually, whatever I'm currently working on is the thing I'm having most fun with. Like when I was on Deathstroke, I really loved Deathstroke because I was writing it and drawing it. Right? You like Deathstroke, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw you earlier.
Yeah. Your Deathstroke is. I feel like if I'm ever seeing a Deathstroke, if it's a Tony Daniel Deathstroke, I low-key want it on my wall. Like.
Thanks. Yeah. And so with Deathstroke, you know, they asked me, do I want to do Deathstroke? And I think I told you the story where I'm like, I can do Deathstroke, but he's always failed as a character in terms of its longevity. You know, like they always cancel it. So I'm like, what are you doing wrong? So I had them send me all of his stories. I didn't even read them all. I just flipped through them. I'm like, I know what the problem is. He's not. There's no blood. He's not killing anybody. It's like. I said I do Deathstroke
the character that well.
if you let me do Deathstroke the way I want to do it, and then I'll do it. And they said, okay, Tony, whatever you want to do. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's going to be ultra violent. There's going to be blood. Okay, Tony, go ahead. They didn't know what to expect. The first 3 pages, he kills 15 people. He's like chopping heads off, chopping off arms, and then he's executing people, like, you know, shooting them in the head, and, you know, and people loved it. So.
Of course they did.
But it ended up being a hit because people loved that, and they were shocked. DC were like, we were not expecting people to, but they're like, keep doing it. People love. And then I did a Batman versus Deathstroke scene where they're fighting each other. The editor called me up and said, hey, Tony, we thought this was going to be more violent. Like, we need to add more blood. And I'm like, they're telling me to add more blood. So yeah, because people were loving it. So I'm like, okay, well, I didn't think we could show Batman with that much blood, you know. So I was like, kind of like pulled back a little bit because I didn't know what I can get away with. But if I could do it over, I would have really made it more bloody. So I just had my colorist add a bunch of blood, like bloody him up. But that's the story behind that. But
that's awesome, man. Thank you.
That's your chance to kill Batman right there.
Right?
I mean, they're practically begging for it. Hello.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I've been using Procreate. I didn't know if there were any specific types of brushes, like custom brushes that you use specifically, or custom settings that you like, that you like in traditional, there's like 3 classics that I love, but like with digital, are there any that you find work really good for you?
So with those, I've been learning as I go, but like I'll take an existing brush. Like I like the bleed brushes. They're called bleed. I'll take those and I'll edit them. You know, you can edit them, right? And make it your own and kind of make it bigger tip, smaller tip, all that. And, you know, how much spacing there is in terms of how rough it looks, you know? So I have several. I rename it. So I have a whole thing with that. And I just started to like really learn how to edit my own brushes. I'm a slow learner with some of this stuff, you know? But Clayton Henry, do you know who Clayton Henry is? He's the master of, you know, Clayton Henry, he's the master of Procreate in comics. So luckily he's like one of my best friends. So I can always call him up and be like, hey, and I was harassing him. I'm like, dude, let me just pay you $200, spend 2 hours with me. And he took my money. So he ain't that good a friend. So I thought he was going to be like, hey, don't worry, man, you know. But he spent the 2 hours, but I milked it. So like for weeks I would bug him, you know, like, dude, what about this? What about that? What about this? And I'm like, I paid you the $200, remember? So you got to answer this. So he really helped me with that. But you know, once I learned, like literally took me maybe 2 weeks to like learn some of this stuff. It's super easy now, and I feel dumb for not knowing how to do it the first time he showed me. But I had to keep going to him a couple times with, you know, copying and pasting this and that and whatever. But but the brushes. There's a few brushes that I like that I've just found online. Like on Gumroad. You just look, and I'll purchase them, and I don't use any of them, or I might use 2 or 3 of them. You know, so trial and error. And I'll take those and edit those. That's what I recommend.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Your super fan just left without, like, it's like he walked away from
He
the
didn't even
raffle.
say goodbye. Like, what
For
was
those of
his
you
name
guys who
again?
don't know, we are going to be raffling
All right.
off these at the end of the show, just after the panel over on the side of the stage. So if you have a question, that gets your name into the raffle. I have a question because I really just love talking about Noctera. I can't promote this book enough. It's absolutely phenomenal. The character of Blacktop Bill, which was brought up earlier, he got his own sort of spin-off issue.
Yeah.
Recently. Is there a plan to sort of expand that Noctera universe, not only with Blacktop Bill, but I mean, are we talking about side comics? How big of a world are you and Scott Snyder, trying to build with Noctera?
We're trying to just keep growing it, like just you know, building upon it. We got this great, huge new world that we can do a lot of stuff with. So right now, actually, like I'm writing with Scott, but it's like me kind of leading the charge. I'm writing like a Val special #1, so it's
cool.
The lead character is named Val. So that's a story. In fact, next week I'll give him like the outline, and we'll talk about it and go over it, and then we're ready to go. Now we just need to find an artist. So I might draw it.
Oh, no.
I might draw it and write it.
Okay.
Or we find somebody that we like and we, you know.
Just for that one issue, or
It's just a one issue thing.
okay.
Like we did a Blacktop Bill special, so
Yeah,
it's just
I
a
know.
one issue.
Yeah.
And so in the story that I'm writing is I'm introducing some new characters, and so I'm introducing characters that we see in the past because we have flashback scenes that are going to be important in the future.
Awesome.
So that's something I wanted to do, like introduce some characters we don't see for a while, and then we flash forward to the future, and we see these cool characters that
So excited.
we introduce in this issue. So.
Oh, sir, you have a question? What's your name?
Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
I just heard if I come up with a question, I get my name in the raffle. So I wanted to know, what was your inspirations as getting into comic books, like, and an artist?
Well, actually, you know, I already said like my influences, but when I was a kid, we moved into this house, and up in the attic there was, you know, my father found a box of old comics, like from the 60s and 70s, like 1970, like 10 cents, 15 cents. So it had Jack Kirby, Gene Colan, you know, all these old comics and tons, you know, it was mostly Marvel. So that's how I got hooked on Marvel.
Okay.
Mostly, you know, Captain America, Daredevil, you know, Spider-Man, John Romita Sr.
Classic. Yeah.
All that stuff, like old, and we just would pour through this and just loved it. It was just amazing, you know. And so that that's really kind of like what gave me my love for comics.
Sure.
But I didn't draw them until I switched schools as a 9-year-old. I met this kid who was drawing these little comic books. Like he would tear the paper and make like a little book.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh shit, I've never done that before, and I love comics. So we started drawing these little comics in school, and it was a Catholic school, so the nuns would find my book when I'm in class, and they would rip it up in front of the whole class,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm like,
What'd you
oh,
say
yeah,
about-
that's like the 64-page spectacular. You just
You're like
just
9
rip-
years old?
The more pages, the better it was. The more they enjoyed
my
just
God.
ripping up my stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, karma happens, baby. I don't know what happened to like Sister Joseph,
Well,
but
it didn't work though.
it wasn't good. But yeah, I mean, maybe that helped. You know, in high school they did it too. They would rip up my comics in high school. Shh, I don't know why. Teachers, such assholes. You know, some of these guys they just rip up my stuff. You know,
All right.
but
It answers my
it's
question.
a sad story.
Yeah. It's a good promotion for digital comics.
But you know
though.
what? You know, most artists are kind of tortured, and you know,
Yeah, it fits the bill.
a lot of pain and suffering
Yeah.
along the way and whatnot. You
Sure.
know, but
Do you have a favorite character that you like to draw?
My favorite character. Well, I love drawing Batman and Catwoman and things like that. But other than that, I love Spider-Man. I'm a giant Spider-Man fan. I just never really got the opportunity. I've done a couple covers, but
you should.
Thanks so
I
much.
hope you do.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Oh, sir. What is your name?
Mike.
Mike.
How's it going? I got here
Hello.
late, so I don't know if
Mike,
somebody's
can I
asked
have
it.
the last name? Sorry.
Burry, B-U-R-R-Y.
Got it.
Yeah, probably for the best, yeah. I got here late, so I don't know if somebody's asked this yet, but has Noctera been optioned yet?
Noctera, we optioned that to Netflix before the big bottom fell out. But don't worry, they need cool stuff, and Noctera is cool. So it should. We just talked to the writer like a couple weeks ago, and he felt confident that we were still, you know, in really good shape. But so James Wan Company has purchased the rights. So you know James Wan, right?
Sweet.
So he purchased the rights. He's the one who took it to Netflix and said, "Hey, I want to do this." We got a great writer named Roberto Patino, who is one of the writers from Westworld. So if you like Westworld, Sons of Anarchy, and then the new DMZ show. Okay, so he's our writer. Just signed a big deal with Netflix. This is his first project with them. So hopefully they don't want to upset him because this is their first deal with him. Right. And we have James Wan. So it's like
Oh my
hopefully this is enough to like make sure this thing gets done. But it looks good so far. So let's see what happens, you know, crossing fingers.
Great, good to know. Thank you.
That's very exciting. Noctera with a James Wan kind of a look and
yes,
a Westworld vibe. Hello, sir.
Hi, I'm Montana.
How you doing?
I seen Noctera as Image.
Yes.
Right. So I understand with Image you get more IP rights than you do with.
You
like,
get 100%.
Disney. So can you talk about the difference in that and whether you prefer doing
we
Image
prefer
stuff
100%.
or DC?
Yeah, with Image, they've always been a great creator, you know, pro creator rights, you know, company. So if you create it and you're publishing through Image, you own 100%. Image doesn't take a cut. They have no control over it, anything. You're funding yourself. You're paying yourself. That's why we did a Kickstarter for Noctera, because Scott and I, we didn't want to ask. Image would have given us like some money to like, you know, help me pay the bills, I guess, because it takes me 6 months to like go from start to finish where I actually get a check for something like that. So we did a Kickstarter that funded us, the colorist, the letterer, everybody got funded. We were self-sufficient, and you know, but we're on our own. You know, we take all the risk. We could end up making no money. We could end up losing money. You know, so there's risk involved. We don't believe that would happen because we have confidence. You know, so you never go in thinking of you're going to fail, but you know, that's the good thing with Image. If you go to like Dark Horse or somebody, they might pay you a page rate or whatever to keep, you know, keep you having, you know, keep the lights on, pay your bills and stuff, but you got to give them a percentage, you know, so there's a trade-off. There's some security in that, but like me and Scott were always, even me, like 20 years ago, I was doing Image comics. I was doing my own titles with them, and I was just really big on being self-sufficient and support myself, you know, but
Sure, but
they're a great company.
But it's original content with Image, right?
It's
Versus
all-
like your take on established characters.
Oh yeah,
something
we
that
wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, yeah. So it's like it's all your stuff. You know, but I guess you can take something that's licensed. They've done that. I think they. I don't know if they did Transformers. Somebody did Transformers, but they bought the rights for a little bit or something. You know, so that's possible. You know, but I wouldn't do that. But you know, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your question. I know you really want to finish this last one before we run out of time here, so feel free to just feverishly sketch. I had a question just sort of about your advice to upcoming artists. How much of being a great artist is just natural-born talent? How much of it is practice? How much of it is perseverance? And what advice would you give to somebody who, in their own mind, has not a stitch of talent and can't draw a stick man? Yeah.
Those guys end up being writers.
Okay.
So
good advice. Right.
Well, I've never seen. Well, I've never. You know what? I stand corrected. Scott Snyder has. I've seen some of his sketches, and they're actually pretty good because he did like some like little remarks when we were in Sarasota in December. But a lot of writers I found, I think including Jeff Johns, wanted to be artists initially.
Yeah.
And then they ended up, just because they're creative, they just like, that's cool, I want to do it. You know, but they find that, you know, it's hard. It's really hard to get to the next level. So they ended up, with their love of comics and being creative, becoming writers. So that really, like, you know, there's a lot of directors too out there. There's a lot of screenwriters, directors have become comic book writers.
Yeah.
You know, so
You hear that, Kevin Smith?
Exactly. You know, but yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of it's like I wasn't good, I think, when I first started. I mean, I was good enough to maybe be passable. And, you know, I'm really hard on my old stuff, but I was good enough to, like, get in. But it took a lot of hard work to get better and just, you know, being open to criticism. And, you know, I'm my worst critic.
I'm sure.
You know, like, I get imposter syndrome all the time where I'm like, oh, I suck. My daughter comes in my office and she's like, what's wrong? Because I'm like, oh, you know, and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I suck. Like, just it's terrible. I'm like, that's what happens. And I'm just like, oh, this is just terrible. She's like, Dad, don't be so hard on yourself. I'm like,
shut up, Dad.
I'm like, it once in a while that happens, you know, but you get frustrated.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, growing, being open to changing and, you know, changing with the times and being, like, I've been doing this for almost 30 years, just being relevant and trying to stay relevant. That's very hard.
Yeah.
And not looking like, I don't look like I looked 5 years ago or 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's like, it's a completely different thing. And it's like a upward trajectory that I keep, you know, that trajectory going.
So if I heard you correctly, your advice is if you can't do it, just give up and be a writer, or
Exactly,
keep
yeah.
on going and try to get better.
Or keep going and just keep pushing yourself. And, you know, a lot of it's just really hard work. You got to put the hard work into it. And, you know,
yeah,
hard work will, you know, shape the talent that you do have.
Right. Hi. What's your name? You have a question?
My name's Torres, and my question for you is, I'm watching you as you sketch. With your line work, how do you know when to stop? Because with me, sometimes I'll push it, but then I go, oh, I just messed that up.
You're a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. So with your line work, how do you know when enough is enough? Because when I'm sketching, when I'm lining, I'll make a stroke and then I go, oh, I just messed up. That was too much, or it's too little, or I'm just not satisfied and I don't know what to do.
You just got to go by feel. Like, sometimes I can tell if I'm overworking something. It happens too, you know, when I'm, you know, even to someone like me who's been doing this for a long time, something can be overwork where it's like, okay, that's done, you know. It depends on what your look is, like what style have you. I'm doing a Catwoman as my last one.
Oh, fantastic!
So anyone wants a Catwoman?
Gotta ask a question.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
You gotta ask. Did you ask a question? You did. Okay. You know, so it depends on what your style is. You know, like do you want to be ultra detailed? You know, then it gets a little trickier. You got to figure out how much detail where it's muddy. You know, like I would back in the day, we didn't have computers. I would photocopy my work to actual size, like of a printed book, and I would see what it looked like to see if, you know, if it's too small, too big, you know, whatever. And it helped me, you know, kind of gauge how much detail to put in, you know. But these days you have a computer, you know. if you practice on your iPad, that's actually easier because you can just delete, change it, and try to, it eventually comes second nature to you, I think.
Yeah.
But it depends on your look, what you want to, get out of it,
Are you asking?
No, it depends. Like, are you a simple, like more, there's like an anime style, which I like, which is actually pretty simple. And then there's
Well,
like
it's very
David Finch, very
yeah.
detailed.
It's very conflicting because with social media, you get to experience other people's work. And so I'll be torn between the very pop, bold, thick lines and then sort of the very thin lines that you're doing now.
Yeah.
And it's finding a medium for me most of the time.
That just comes with practice. There's no shortcut. You just have to like keep doing it. And a year from now, you're gonna be like, oh, this is what I've been searching for. You might never find, like, I've never found what I'm searching for. I just keep playing around and seeing what I like. So,
Yeah, I got
but you just have to keep doing it.
Thank you.
Right?
Or become a writer.
Or, yes, become a writer.
Is there?
It's not a question. I just want to tell a quick story. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. Tony, you were at Famous Faces in Melbourne here, and you were doing sketches for people and so forth. And I was waiting online, and he was working on a Batman for somebody, and he looked at it and said, "Oh, this is terrible." You threw it in the garbage. Literally threw it in the garbage. And
I remember.
And you did it over again. Well, the owner of the store took it out of the garbage and put it up on his wall.
Bastard. He's just doing that to embarrass and ridicule me. Like.
So head on over to Melbourne, man. You got to sign that thing.
Occasionally, I will like rip up a page, but I'm not the only one. There's other artists that we do that sometimes. It's like, ugh, and then sometimes I rip it up, and then I look at the pieces later, and I'm like, it wasn't that bad. I should have kept it. Yeah, I mean, or sometimes I'll redraw a whole cover because I hate the first one, and then I do another one. I'm like, oh, this one's better. I get it colored. We go to print. And then I look back at the first one that I hated. I'm like, that one was better. But like I said, I'm my own worst enemy, and I'm not perfect by any means, but that's one of my flaws is I overthink stuff sometimes with the art, and then I'm like, I'm too hard on myself, like to a fault where it gets in the way, and I'm redrawing a whole cover. Stuff. I've done that too many times actually, but.
Well, you've had a very extensive comic book career. You've been very, very successful in comics. I just wanted to ask, sort of as a last question, sort of in retrospect, looking back at when you first kind of got started with Elementals in 1993. I mean,
oh my God!
When that hit store shelves and you walked into a comic book shop and there it was, did you feel like, okay, I have reached the mountaintop?
Oh,
this is as good as it's ever going to get. This one book right here.
No, but I know my funny story is that. Do you remember those newsletters that in the comic shops that you got all the upcoming books that are coming out? Do they still make that? Comic Shop News.
It's digital now, but yeah.
It's digital.
Oh, okay.
So Comic Shop News, and it said it was my first Marvel stuff because my Elementals didn't really come out. They were having trouble publishing it, or they were a mess. Okay, the company, and my first X-Force annual #1, they printed my name wrong. They said Tony Daniels with the S at the end. I was like, what the hell? This is my
printed
first.
It wrong.
It's my first, but it was in Comic Shop News. But I was like waiting for this moment, and it's a Tony Daniels. And I called Comic Shop News. I said, hey, I just want you to know, there's no S after the L. And they're like, okay.
Like, shut up, Mr. Daniels.
And then I hung up. But I was a kid. I was like 20 years old. I was like, well, come on. But
well, I think we have time for one more question as you're finishing up Catwoman. Sir, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Anthony, and I just got a art question.
Let's get the question.
When you're drawing and stuff, what is the stuff that you're using to actually, even just quick sketch?
I'm sorry?
Quick sketches? Like what sort of material or what tools do you use?
Media.
Well, this is basically a quick sketch right here. So I'm using this watercolor paper, which I usually don't use. So, I like smoother paper, and then lots of different, I use a lot of Japanese dual point, dual tip pens. You got like thick, right here. You know, I can draw a whole page with just this pen. You know, so this is good. And then you have the fine tip on this side. You know what I mean? So, like, just this one pen, I've been able to do an entire page with nothing else. So this, and then microns, which are very fine tip pens, which it's too fine for me to do here with this. But I use a lot of that too, and a lot of creators use these micron pens. So I use a lot of ink with brushes. I do that too.
Yeah, because like for me, I just now started to use the microns. Not really good at them yet, but I'm working on it.
You don't like them?
I like them.
Yeah.
I just, my hand shakes a little too much, and they're so fine that, you know, it's like with calligraphy. If your hand is kind of shaky, go up a size as far as your pen. But for me, what I've been doing is using like a flexible nib fountain pen.
What kind of pen is that?
A fountain pen.
Okay, yeah.
Like I'll get like a Noodler's Nib Creeper or some craziness like that, and then just, you know, single color things. But I was just watching you as you were sketching. I'm like going, well, I couldn't tell what it was, and I was just.
Yeah, this is actually a Pentel dual flex point tip pen. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
And they're like $10 each, you know, or something, you know, but I'll buy like 10 of them but I'm good for a few months, you know, with that.
I don't want to tell you what I'm spending.
They're very expensive.
Especially with fountain pens.
Well, fountain pens, yeah, I mean, for me, those are like too messy, and I've ruined too many pages with like a big drop of ink right on the eye. You know, it's like that happened too many times. I'm like, forget those, you know, but.
In the trash.
In the trash, along with the art that it ruined, you know, boom. Okay, there we go.
Well, thank you so much.
I gotta make sure I sign these.
Yeah, this has been an absolute treat. We know what a very busy table you have right over there, guys. If you want to continue this conversation with Tony, head on over. He's in the comic sketch art row right behind that red and white curtain right there. So we definitely want to give a giant round of applause for
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Tony Daniel, not
Thanks.
Tony Daniels.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks everybody for hanging out and showing up. I really appreciate everybody coming and having a big turnout. I thought maybe I'd have like 3 people here or something, and I was just going to have them come up behind me and I'd just draw for them. But thank you. Thanks for the nice turnout. Really appreciate it, guys.
You're very welcome. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
If your name is in the raffle, we're just going to do it right over here.
Good
just
luck.
After the panel. So thanks so much. We got a lot of great stuff going on at the creator stage. The people at the Cooper School are going to be here in about an hour. So with Mr. Ken Lashley, all you X-Men fans, right here.
Thanks, guys.